Imagine how your life would unfold if you had a near-death experience at age 3. This is Robert Manni, host of Guys TV, and this week my special guest, Jacob Cooper, has written a book about his experiences. I've also got Clairvoyant Anthony Teresi on the show right here on Guys TV. You can also catch me on KCAA Radio every Wednesday here in Southern California at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, and on Guys Radio, my worldwide podcast. Guys TV, Guys Radio, thanks for your support. Okay, Guys Radio, we're in the interview portion of our show. A special guest today is a fellow by the name of Anthony Teresi. He's written a book called Rippling Waves. Let me tell you a little bit about him as I introduce him. He's a renowned clairvoyant, intuitive, master astrologer, psychic, sound healer, and empath known for his compassion and integrity. His sole mission has been for the development, refinement, exploration, and mastery of intuitive psychic nature, ever striving to grow into alignment with the highest states of consciousness. Anthony's gifts allow him to tune into the realm of universal knowing, unlocking the hidden mysteries of life while accessing the doorway from humanity and what's called the beyond. With his new book, Rippling Waves, A Spiritual Journey Through the Heart of the Universe, Anthony brings us along with him on a journey back to source and to the future of humanity. Welcome to Guys Radio, Anthony Teresi. Anthony, welcome.
My pleasure. Hi.
How you doing there? Good. Okay, so you're a musician, metaphysician, clairvoyant, and author, and you mentioned you have some psychic abilities as a child, which emerged more fully when you became an adult. What actually happened to you? What triggered this?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be raised in a family where we have about 4 generations of psychic people who have been talented in that regard. So I was nurtured from a very young age. But the turning point was when I had an encounter with my brother who had crashed his plane in Mexico, and I saw him after the fact. It's a rather long story, but that was a turning point. And from that point forward, I was able to know, as opposed to postulate, the fact that there was this reality that existed beyond the three-dimensional.
Okay. You have this new book. It's called Rippling Waves. Give us a quick overview. What's it about? What is this message? It's a series of experiences, various meditations, dimensions. What is Sarah? What are the globes? Just give us an overview on the book, Anthony.
Okay. The book actually is a story vision of a lifetime's worth of my experiences. I've tried to put it into a journey context to where I'm able to introduce the reader in an ongoing way to the various dimensions that the expansion of consciousness provides a person. If you're looking for enlightenment, if you're looking for a opportunity to visit truly what are higher dimensions, this book will raise your frequency just in reading it, and it'll give you an opportunity to see what transpires and what you can expect in higher dimensions.
I read the book, and the journey itself seems to be written in past tense and lead us through where humanity is today, but into the future, but referred to as past tense. How did that all work? And is this book? Is it? I say this respectfully. Is it nonfiction, or is it fiction? Is it storyized to help the reader understand the different realms? How did you put this together? Because it's a very unique work of art.
It's not fiction. It is based on my own personal experiences that I have had through the course of a lifetime. But in order to make it an intelligible work, I had to put it into a context of a journey. It's as if I'm the tour guide, and to be quite frank with you, it was suggested that I write it as a memoir. But I gave that consideration, and I really didn't want to do that. I really wanted to write it as an us book, where we're talking about bringing everyone along, because everyone has these abilities, and I'm hoping to introduce that fact in this book. So I created certain names. For example, you mentioned Trisara. Yes, that is a name that I created. But I had that experience. I've had that experience many times where I been there, done that, so to speak. And there was never any name that was given to me, but I had to call it something. And it's kind of unfortunate because in this kind of work, it really is more visual and non-verbal. But what are you going to do if you're writing a book? You've got to use words, right?
Do you- when you're traveling interdimensionally, if you will, and is this through meditation, or how do you kind of travel? How do you go there? What's the tipping point? How do you kind of get into your journeys?
Well, it's by accessing consciousness itself. And the way that that happens is through intuition and a higher level of emotion. Putting myself in a position to experience the effect of love and a focused attention. And this, by the way, does not happen, did not happen overnight. It happened through the mastery of music, which took a couple of decades of my life. And put me in a position to be able to, again, not get caught up in the mental chatter of what's slowing us down, and be able to bypass that through the intuitive connection to the literal ocean of consciousness.
Okay. A lot of people nowadays, they're interested in kind of their spiritual unfoldment, if you will. And it seems like not only do they have trouble manifesting, but I think maybe one of the roadblocks is, and help us out with this, is they have problems receiving, but not only receiving, but also allowing. And that's allowing spirit to come through. It seems like when you receive, there's still thinking, and thinking seems to get in the way of spiritual work. And then allowing is lets things through. So I would say receiving is like getting a piece of mail, and you think about it, you open up, and then allowing would be maybe you step under the shower, all the water comes down, or whatever. Help us out with that. Some of the challenges people have in terms of their spiritual unfoldment, problems with receiving, problems with allowing, because it seems like you know how to get into the flow.
Well, I mean, the biggest problem, and you touched on it, is the fact that the mental chatter gets in the way. What we're talking about here is an experience that is not really definable. And this is not something that you can focus your attention on. If you focus your attention, you'll get single pointed consciousness, but it won't necessarily grant you what we're talking about. What we're speaking of is being able to bypass entirely language and the mentality of the objective. If I may, there is a process that is utilized. I use it myself, and I would put it out there for anyone that you just mentioned. Your heart is the greatest magnetic force in your body. It is the 5,000 times more powerful than your vision. And it operates on what's called a torus field, which is a field that continues to have the energy roll back in. And your mind is your visionary aspect. So if you are to rise above mind and envision the fact that you are rising in vibration, your heart will bring that energy into you. Love will put you in a position to have coherence happening, and you will have the opportunity to have experiences manifest right before you.
Tell us a little bit about the dimensions that you experienced and your contact and communication with ascended beings and angels as part of the book Rippling Waves.
Well, every dimension exists within its own vibrational frequency. That those are the parameters, if you will. This dimension that we're in has its parameters. I like to think of it as zero gravity to the speed of light, just to give you an idea. That's kind of where our sweet spot is, if you will. But that doesn't. The speed of light is not the end of all. Often, you can consider what happens to light when it goes into a black hole. I have found that it manifests at a higher frequency, a higher dimension. And in these dimensions are other beings like ourselves. Well, not like ourselves. I mean, obviously, they don't have these heavy bodies that we have. And so when you're able to connect with these frequencies, it is through pure consciousness. My body is not traveling to another dimension. That would be impossible. But my consciousness can wake up and focus in any dimension that I am capable of accessing. So when you go to the first dimension that I make reference to, transformational, that's the place where you realize who you are and what your true being is. That's the essence in your heart. And we go on from there to transcendent, to cosmic. Cosmic consciousness, as I outlined it, is the true cosmology that you can witness in terms of like how reality is emanated into being. And beyond that is divine consciousness. Well, it states what it actually is being able to tune into the divinity of the reality of our life, our creation. And then beyond that is the last chapter called Unity, and it represents a civilization, thinly veiled as our own, I might add. And it shows the barbaric past of this civilization, how they fight through the materialistic and the power broker aspect, if you will, and how through a renaissance of spirituality, they are able to move beyond that. And the book culminates with being invited into our cosmic neighborhood with our cosmic neighbors, other beings such as ourselves that come from different vibrations.
And is it do you think that's where we're headed?
I do.
And how about what's going on now? A lot of people say, oh, everything's going to change and ascension. And, but people still get up and they take a shower and they go to work. And I don't see things changing that much, but a lot of questions are on people's mind. Is it a timeline issue? Is everybody kind of in their own, karmic agreements or whatever? What's going on now on the planet in your estimation, Anthony?
Well, if you look at the media and evaluate what's going on the planet that way, then you're going to have a problem seeing any good coming out of it, no doubt about it. But I make reference to a natural law. It's called, in my book, I refer to it as the law of emergence, and it goes on the principle that from a seed, an acorn, if you will, grows an oak tree. In that seed is the entire blueprint for that oak tree. And it knows how to do it and knows how to become an oak tree. We as a human species are a seed. We are flowering as we go. And I make reference to that as we go in the book in part 5, chapter 5. But the main issue is it's our destiny. It's our destiny to leave this behind and to move on. We can do it relatively quickly, a couple hundred years even, or we could do it and keep crashing and burning as we've been doing, and maybe take a couple more millennia before we're able to move on. The law of emergence will see to it that we arrive at our destiny. There's no other destiny that we can arrive at. The same way that an acorn has its destiny to become an oak tree, we have our destiny to transform into our next level of being.
Interesting. My special guest on Guys Radio, Rippling Waves author Anthony Teresi. We're talking about the book and about a lot of the concepts in it that were new to me. What is the field and what is neuroplasticity?
Neuroplasticity is the relatively recent branch of science that has proven that whatever the brain visualizes and sees, it believes. And if it is told that the images in front of it are real, it believes that. And this is why we are motivated and so often to see ourselves identified in the world out there. But if used properly, and as I mentioned earlier, aligned with the heart energy, then neuroplasticity can be a wonderful beacon in terms of aligning us with new realities that have yet to come to us.
Okay. I also mentioned the field. What is the field?
The field is another name for consciousness I don't think it's has expanded as yet as far as being able to embrace the totality of what consciousness is. But the field is what the stuff is made out of. It's what protons and neurons and what particles become. We are 99.9996% space. The field is what holds us together. The field is where everything is. It is a extension of consciousness, but it is not consciousness itself. Consciousness is the source of everything that we see as a manifested reality.
Okay. Sound and vibrational healing, which you are an expert in, are we all connected by like one chord that would be like a chord, if you will, throughout the universe, like on a tuning fork, and then there's variations on that, but it all goes back to that one sound? Is that how it works?
Well, the whole universe is one sound, and that's been known for thousands of years, and they refer to it as the most profound sound, which is Om, which is the sound of all.
Mhm.
We as a species have our own chord. That was absolutely correct. And we as individuals have our own collection of notes. And at this point, we are just now embarking on this new field of healing. Whereas in the not too distant future, certainly in this century, the physicians of the future will be the musicians and practitioners who will know how to heal with vibration. Example, a person has heart disease, their heart is not functioning properly. At some not too distant point in the future, they will visit a practitioner. A practitioner will locate that element and will be able to bring that heart back into its natural vibration of healing. That person will walk out, and ultimately, disease will be a part of the past.
Got it. Okay, my special guest, Anthony Teresi. Rippling Waves is the book, and we're talking about a lot of his gifts, and you have a lot of different gifts. What do you need to get a read on people? Do you scan them? Do you see auras? Are you empathic? How do you work, Anthony?
All of that. When I sit down with a person to do a reading on them, it's completely opposite from what I'm doing now. What I'm doing now is talking to you about my book, and it's about me saying that. When I sit down with a client, it's completely reversed. I completely surrender myself to that moment. It's all about the client. I am not part of the reading other than to be the giver of the information. And I can sit with a client for a few minutes and begin to see imagery from that person. I'm not all the time, but I can see their energy field. And often that allows me to inform them in terms of like what their emotions are and what's going on with them, and then that leads into questions. And the more I sit with the person, the more in tune and interfaced I become with them. And then by the time they leave, we have pretty much become one.
Okay. Can you see auras? Like right now, we're looking at each other. We're on Zoom, but can you read my aura from Zoom?
No, I can read your aura if we were sitting in person.
Okay. Okay. So you don't work remotely then?
Not that way. I
Okay.
do work remotely, and when it comes to psychic ability, there's no barrier to that. But when it comes to reading auras, I personally prefer having a person sitting in front of me
Sure.
and interchanging with that spatial and dimensional energy. That's where I see it best.
Okay. Do you interact with ETs in your celestial travels, if you will?
Well, ET has a connotation that mostly applies, in my understanding, mostly applies to space aliens, quote unquote. I have had some experience with that, but I've had way more experience with celestial presence, angelic presence, and beings that exist far beyond any sort of planetary context from that standpoint. And from my way of thinking and my experiences, this is the most inspirational and the most mind expansive experience and interaction that anyone can have. When you are fortunate enough, not you, but anyone is
Sure.
fortunate enough to have these kinds of encounters, it puts you in a position of ecstasy. There's no other way to put it.
Um, are you afraid of anything?
Not afraid of anything. I don't think so. I mean, I'm not afraid of death anymore. That'd be the only thing. If there's anything I'm afraid of, I wouldn't say afraid of, but if there's anything that I would say I would like more of, would be time.
Hmm. God, is God a state of being? Is it a guy with the big long white beard? Is God is it an inside out action? Is it like we're all little mirrors on the disco ball? How does it work? What is God?
God is completely and thoroughly unknowable to us in terms of being able to describe that energy. God is the first source and mover of all things, the bestower of life, the bestower of the universe, and a creator that exists beyond the creation. We cannot understand or ever hope to define God. However, as the mystic said, we can come to realize that through love and through the love that exists in our heart, of which we were born from, we can identify with the greatest of all energy, which is love. So the saying goes, mentally, I know that I'm nothing. Emotionally, I know that love is everything, and I am part of that. So God is not definable, but we wouldn't be having this conversation without God. And no, by the way, the flowing man and the white beard and the clouds and all that it's just a fairy tale.
Okay. Okay. What's the best tip you can give our listeners in terms of how to have their speed up their spiritual unfoldment, if you will? What's a kind of a couple of easy steps they can take?
Know yourself, which is one of the most profound sayings from all of history. When you go within and find that spot within that you identify with and you become that love that you are, you begin relating to life in a completely different context. You begin relating from the inside out. You begin directing yourself from the inside out, as opposed to, well, I have this Cadillac, so that must make me this kind of thing. When you have that knowledge of who and what you are, you have peace, you have happiness, and you have a foundation that you can base the rest of your life on.
Fantastic. Anthony Teresi, Rippling Waves is the name of the book, A Spiritual Journey Through the Heart of the Universe. Anthony, where can people find out more about you and pick up your book?
Well, Amazon.com, Rippling Waves. You can also go to my website, which is my name, Anthony, Anthony, Teresi, Teresi.com. And you'll see at the top of the page, it'll say Rippling Waves. Click on that, and you can buy it there as well.
Fantastic. Anthony Teresi, thank you so much for being on Guys Radio. Nice job.
Oh, my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
If you enjoyed the interview and want to support all the helpful content we bring you each week here on Guys TV, then please subscribe now and also on my podcast, Guys Radio. Thanks for your support.